July session.
All right, we are on. Very good. Let's call this meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, Mr. Grandia.
Keisha Johnner.
Here.
Mark Ramey.
Here.
Steve McCombs.
Here. Very good. Entertain a motion on this morning's agenda.
Make motion we approve today's agenda.
Second.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good. Jake, any communications? Looks like we have one item.
Yes, sir. The board received a letter of request from the city of Knoxville regarding support of their local option sales tax request to be placed on a ballot, question be placed on a ballot this fall. So as kind of we did it with Melcher, they also have submitted a official request. You received the letter now. This came after the last meeting, and then if you guys so choose, the resolution to support that can be on the next meeting, which is in the 27th or something like that this month. I can't remember exactly.
Okay,
The
very
deadline to support any of these communities or for yourselves to put the ballot on the question for this fall as well is August 10th.
Okay.
So the next regular session to consider that for any other communities and yourselves would be, probably the next regular meeting or a special before the 10th.
Okay.
And Knoxville has already approved theirs. They've indicated that, so they're halfway home that they're looking to get at least 50% participation of the jurisdictional bodies, which would probably include you guys if you support them, and then do it for yourself or the city of Pelham. So that's just a little background on what we talked about last week.
Very good. I appreciate that, Jake. Thank you. I also did talk with Mike Nardini this week, and we should also be receiving a similar notification from Pella. At least they're going to be in conversations about that.
Interesting. Okay.
So once we get that, why don't we go ahead and put an agenda item out there for our next meeting to go through all of these and get that done. All right, very good. Thank you. Any other communications? Board?
Nope.
Very good. Public comments is the portion of our meeting the public can speak on items not on this morning's agenda. The board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future board of supervisor meetings. Are there any public comments, items not on this morning's agenda? Looking at the public here. Anything there? Nothing here? Okay, nothing online and nothing in-house. Very good, we will move on. I'd entertain a motion on this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion we approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
Ramey.
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, on to business. Our first item, something that I know that Lisa and Renee and Keisha have been working on putting together. I don't know, Lisa, have we ever done anything like this?
No, this is the first year that we will formally recognize people for their service.
Okay, very good. I know we did a recognition a while back for Steve Edwards a few years ago for his 40th. Yes,
Yes.
40th. Steve isn't here, so I can make fun of him, so, but 40 years. But we felt it was very appropriate to begin a program of recognizing longevity of service for Marion County employees. These employees continue to exemplify the best of Marion County in terms of their service to the taxpayer. And so I asked several of the board members. Steve will be taking the 10-year, I believe. Keisha will do the 5-year. I'll do the 15, and then the awards out here. We'll take a little break. We'll be doing some pictures. But I think first and foremost, we as a board want to thank our employees for their service to the taxpayers of Marion County, and this is a way that we want to show and express that appreciation. So with that, Keisha, we'll take the 5-year.
Yeah, no. I would like to start with Matthew Beaver. Matthew is currently deployed, so not only Matthew, we thank you for working for Marion County, but serving our country. So very thankful there. Matthew's with the road department. Randy Carruthers is also with the road department. Gary Eischen, which is road department. Ross Gibson with the county attorney's office. Stacy Haas, public health department. Jamie McClellan, which is with the recorder's office. Trey Putoff with the sheriff's office. Andrew Schuhart, sheriff's office. Isaac Short with the sheriff's office. Steve Sokol with the road department, and Melissa Summers, public health, and Steve Vandekamp with the road department. Thank you guys for your dedication. Thank you for giving, these 5 years. We're very grateful.
Very good, thank you. Steve?
Okay, I'm going to do the 10-year recognition, and I'm going to start with Danielle Graves with the Auditor's Office, Rachel Garner with Public Health Department, Scott Carr with the Assessor's Office, Christine Link with the County Attorney's Office, and Alvin Oliver with the Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for your service. I appreciate it.
Very good, thank you, Steve. For the 15-year anniversaries, we have Kelly Kingery in the Assessor's Office and Joe Kennedy in the Maintenance Department. So Kelly and Joe, thank you for your contributions to Marion County government and your service to our taxpayers. For our 20-year, and these are the ones where we have certificates, don't we, Lisa? For that 20-year?
Yep, they're
Okay.
framed.
Very good. And I hope everybody's here for these. We have Ann Kinsling. Is Ann here? All right. Ann, you're 20 years in the Auditor's Office. Ann, has it always been in the Auditor's Office?
It has.
All right, very good.
Auditors real estate.
All right. Vicki Chambers, the Treasurer's Office. Vicki, thank you for coming this morning. Jay Davis, Secondary Roads. Jay, where are you hiding? There you are. Thank you, Jay. Jonathan Johnson, Secondary Roads. Jonathan, thank you for coming this morning. And Melissa Poffenberger, Planning and Zoning. Missy, thank you for coming this morning. If you guys wouldn't mind coming up, and I will give you your certificates.
Can we do them one at a time?
One at a time, okay.
Please, and then we'll have them go up to the fireplace.
All right, this is all new, so
Sorry.
this is live. This is all live. Okay. So Ann? Just to signify 20 years of dedicated service to Marion County. Thank you.
Will you look right here, please?
All right, let's get that right there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Vicki?
Are we holding our applause till the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep this orderly, Steve. Vicki, thank you for 20 years of service to Marion County. Thank you. Jay? 20 years of service to Marion County. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Jonathan? 20 years. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you. Missy? 20 years. Seems like 5, right? Thank you, Missy. All right. What am I doing next, Lisa?
The board.
All right.
We're going to take a picture and we'll be right back.
We'll take a picture, we'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you.
He's not.
Okay, David's not.
No. You can still read the names.
All right, very good. Next, we have our 25-year anniversaries. First, we want to recognize Dave McKinney, who is not here today, but for 25 years in the Conservation Department. So Dave, congratulations to you, and we will have this for you when you get back. Marla Mertz, 25 years in the Conservation Department. Feels like Missy, like 5, right? Marla, has it always been in conservation?
10 years in Warren County and 25 here.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, congratulations,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Carla Ising, 25 years, Marion County. Always economic development?
Always.
Always economic development, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
One more picture.
One more
All right,
picture and we'll
one
be back.
picture.
It won't be long. All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so 8-year-old.
Thank you for putting that together. Lisa,
So
thank
thank you
you,
guys.
Renee.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
So, yep, no, appreciate that.
And then I'll put together for us. Definitely appreciate it. Very good. On to our next item. We have resolution 2021-61, which is our consideration of public referendum to authorize 1% local option sales tax for Melcher Dallas. We talked about this in our last meeting, and Barb was here, Mayor of Melcher. Well, Barb's here today, not here today.
I have a question on this.
Yes.
So do the cities then, on the sunsets, do they just put that, I mean, is that a resolution that they add in? Because it's not in these, it doesn't seem like.
Correct. These resolutions are just the support of the cities being allowed to put the ballot onto, or the question on the ballot. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. They determine what's on their ballot language. So they will determine if there's a sunset or not. Half the towns or so in Marion County do not have sunsets anymore.
Okay.
Through the last round. Each time you do an imposition election, each governing jurisdiction decides that ballot language. So it's how the money will be used and if there's a sunset or not.
Okay.
Sunsets are, if you look on Department of Revenue, most jurisdictions don't have those anymore.
Steve, any questions on this?
Well, that was pretty much my question
Sure.
also.
Sure.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
just to
asking
keep
that.
in mind that these resolutions meet the requirement for supporting whether this measure gets put on the ballot or not.
Right.
That's
Yep.
really all that this is.
That's correct.
Now, what we do want folks to understand is we want to encourage you to read the ballot language once it's published and know whether or not it's something you want to support. Because this falls to the public to decide whether or not they want to reauthorize these taxes. So be aware of these things, understand what they mean for your particular city and for Marion County.
Yeah, and this is not for calling for a special election. This is to actually place it on the regular ballot in November for
In
the city
November.
school board election.
And this is why it's time sensitive.
This is why it's time sensitive.
Very good, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion on this resolution.
Motion to approve resolution 2021-61.
Thank you, Keisha.
She got that.
I got it.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Next, we have a discussion item is for new Class C liquor license for countryside wedding and events. We've had this on a couple of agendas. And we're waiting on a septic system, which I believe is now installed. I think we got an email from Bridget
Yep.
saying everything was complete.
Yep, everything's passed inspection.
So any other actions
No.
we need to take, guys, or?
I don't think so. I
Everything's good.
think everything's in order.
Yep.
Very good. So I would entertain a motion on this liquor license application.
I move we approve the liquor license application for countryside wedding and events.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. All right, we have some appointments next for Marion County Development Commission. I believe we can do these all together. Jake? I'll just go through them. We have Steve Bonsetter, am I saying that right?
Steph.
Or Bonstetter?
Steph.
Steph, as in Stephanie.
Stephanie, okay. Oh, Steph. My apologies. All right, hold on.
He'll put the glasses on, it's all good.
Hold on. All right. Steph. Wow, there it is. All right. At-large term, 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2024. Barb Caniff, again out of Pella, 7/2021, 6/30/2024. And Megan Weiler Green, an at-large term, 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2023. Any comments?
I will say, thank you to Susan Canfield. Susan has served her maximum service on our commission of 9 years, so that's why we have one of the appointments available, because she will rotate off the commission. She did it on July 1. Barb Caniff, that is for a reappointment.
Yep.
And then Megan is filling a vacant term that we had on the commission.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Carla.
Do you have a 9-year maximum?
We do. We have three 3-year terms, so they're reappointed for a 3-year term. And they can do that 3 consecutive times, then they must go off the commission for at least 1 year before coming back onto the commission. Just as a way to get more people involved in what we're doing and have different voices around the table. We did also have to have 3 women to have our 50-50 balance of male and female. So that's why you see 3 women on the recommendation.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification, Carla. Any other questions, comments, board?
Nope.
Very good. We'd like to thank these folks for being willing to serve on the commission. And with that, is there a motion to approve these appointments?
I move we approve the appointments to the Marion County Development Commission as read.
I'll second.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good, thank you. Next, we have an appointment to the Marion County Conservation Board, Bill Shepherd, to fill a vacancy, term ending 12/31/2023. Is anybody here to comment on that?
I know Steve was unavailable today.
Okay,
Steve Edwards was unavailable. I believe that the board had sent a letter and Bill's filling the term for Will Prather,
For Will
who
Prather.
has, who has decided to retire.
and we want to thank Mr. Prather for his service on the Conservation Board for years. I'm not even sure how many years. Any idea, Marla?
16 and a half, it says.
16, over 16.
16 and a half.
16 and a half years,
Yeah,
Mr.
that
Prather
sounds
served
right. I
on
was
the
gonna
board.
say 17.
So we want to thank him for his service and thank Bill for being willing to step up and fill this vacancy. So, board, any questions?
No, I just make the comment that, obviously Bill was very familiar, served for 16 years as a supervisor, so I was gonna give him a hard time that he wasn't going by William, but it's all good, so.
All right,
Other than that, I'm good.
all right. Is there a motion?
I make motion to approve Bill Shepherd to the Marion County Conservation Board.
Second.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good. Next, we have a discussion action item, special event application for the Henry Knox chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. We have a Patriot marker dedication. coming up on 7/25/2021, so later on here in July. We had this discussion, I believe they were here 2 meetings ago, if I remember right, Jake?
Yeah, it seems like it.
At least.
Yeah, and we approved the marker and the willingness to put it on there, and Chris, I believe they have found a location.
Yep,
For
so
that.
we've got a location, and the marker actually gets delivered Thursday, the 15th this month. So then the guy's now getting it installed prior to the 25th dedication.
Very good, very good, thank you. And I think, based on the communication I received from Jackie, who came and presented, I think we'll be the first in the state of Iowa.
Yes.
Chris, am I remembering that
I think
right?
that's still the case.
Yeah, first in the state of Iowa, and one of only about 20 nationwide that have put this commemorative marker in. So I think it's important to remember, we think about past events in about 100 years. And on our courthouse, we go back maybe to the Civil War. But we have very few reminders of the Revolution and the importance of that event to the founding of the country. And in these days, I think it is very important to remember why this nation was founded. So we're very honored and privileged to be able to do this on that day. Is there any discussion, board?
I'd just like to make the comment that I can see how excited they are and what an honor it is. And so, yeah, I encourage people, I believe it is the 25th
It's 25th.
at
Yeah.
1 p.m. Yeah. So,
We'll have some speakers, including yours truly. So hopefully we'll make it short but memorable. So I'm excited about that.
that's all I have.
With that, is there a motion on this special event application?
I'll make a motion, we approve the special application.
Second?
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you. Next, we have another special event application from the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce, the 2021 Nationals Parade. I don't think we have anybody here.
Knoxville, the chamber turned it in. I think they've provided everything on the request.
Oh, okay, there's Emma.
Oh, hi, Emma, thank you. Board, any questions for Emma?
Emma, nothing has really changed from the years previous, has it? That you know of?
The same as it has been in the past 2 years.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
You get a little more volume. Can you get a little less volume?
It's all good. Technology, we're good, right?
Thanks, Emma.
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, board, is there any more discussion on this?
I don't have anything.
All right.
I'm assuming, Chris, you're okay with everything?
Great with it.
All right. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the special event application for the Nationals Parade.
Second.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Okay, very good, thank you. Next, we have a discussion item, maybe a potential action item, but probably more of a discussion item on the disposition of the property that the county owns. It's 113, 117 South 3rd, it's right across the street from the courthouse on the east side of the square. It's rocked over right now, but we want to have some discussion on that. I know that there's been some interest from the board's perspective to dispose of that property, and we need to think about the process and how we go about doing that. So, Ed, I believe you're on as well.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Process really hasn't changed. At this point, you need to have a discussion as to whether or not you want to entertain the idea of disposing or divesting the ownership interest in this from the county, make a decision on how you want to go about doing that. Then it needs to go to public, needs to be published, and then take an action. You can really divest yourself of this property many different ways, whether or not you want it to be bid, whether or not you want to hire a realtor, whether or not you already have a bidder in mind or a purchaser in mind, and then simply go through the process that we've gone through when we've sold other properties. So not a whole lot different. If for some reason you want to go below market value, there's some things that we need to talk about then. But basically, you just need to have this meeting where you can talk about whether or not you want to sell the property, and then moving forward, have a discussion, after public hearing on how you want to go about doing it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Counselor. So for this meeting then, it's really a discussion on whether or not we want to sell a property. So Keisha, Steve, thoughts?
I'm in favor of divesting ourselves of the property.
It's a little loud, isn't it? Feedback.
We couldn't hear the speakers before.
Okay. It will take a while to get used to this.
Right, to hear yourself, I would like to, I am the one that brought this to the board and to speak about it. And one of the reasons that I did that was when the downtown assessment was being done, I met with them and personally, and they just frankly were very frank with me and said, what are you guys gonna do with this property? It's rock currently. It's city code is not, that's not following city code. And we had so many compliments, and even, recently, I constantly hear how much people praise the courthouse. They love the courthouse, they love what everything's been done. They're just very, very, they have so much pride in that. And I also think that it's an initiative that we should possibly follow the city code. We should be good stewards. We should be setting examples. And I know currently people do park on it, but I can't see us paving it. I think that to the taxpayer, I don't think that that's being reasonable. And if we can spur economic development, if there's people that are interested in buying the lot, and it can help, cause growth for Knoxville, I think that's a win for both. So yes, I am in favor of disposing it. So, but how we go about doing that, that's conversation.
Steve?
Well, I totally agree with what Keisha says. I know the idea has been kicked around about a pocket park. I don't think we need another pocket park. That doesn't spur development in any way in my mind. Also, we can't, if we were to do something like that, we'd have perpetual maintenance on it, and I don't think we need that burden either. And I think it'd serve itself better if we could develop it, or someone could develop that into a commercial property. And I think there is some interest out there. I know the city of Knoxville, Dylan has expressed that he may have somebody interested in that. How we go about doing that, I guess, is the process we have to discuss at a future date.
Okay, very good. Well, I think my opinion on something like this is the county should not own more property than it needs. And I don't think it needs this property.
Agreed.
So if we can get fair market value or above for that, I think that's good for the taxpayer. And definitely we want market conditions to dictate the price of the property. So I would be totally in favor of selling it under that concept. I'm certainly not in favor of giving it to anybody.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I think this is a question of selling property for fair market value and going through whatever process we want to be able to facilitate that, whether that's a realtor or a sealed bid or however we want to go about that process. So Counselor, if we're all in favor of that, is that the motion for today, and then we work on the process in a subsequent meeting?
Yes, sir. You just want to vote that you're in agreement with moving forward with selling this property, and that Jake should put it on a future meeting with for public comment and public meeting, and then we'll pick the way in which you want to sell it.
Very good. Appreciate it. We've had our discussion. Steve, Keisha, anything else you'd like to add before I ask for a motion?
I don't have anything.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion on the disposition of the outlined property?
I'm trying to figure out how to word the motion. I think the motion being in favor of disposition of the property
Yes.
for market value.
Yeah.
Fair market value.
Yep.
That's the motion.
I'll second.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
All right, so the motion is to be in favor of disposition of the property at fair market value.
Correct.
And then I would then, with assistance, we want to do a public notice for a public hearing. Is that what's the next step
That
is?
is correct, Jake. Yep.
Do you have a preference if that's the next meeting or?
Whatever, if it
Well,
fits.
how-
If it- Let's look at the agenda, Jake, and if we push it off for 2
Okay.
meetings, that's fine too.
Okay. Very good. Okay, that was motion. McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner.
Okay, very good, thank you. Process is underway, like that. All right, next we have a update, VA campus demolition project. Chris, any updates you'd like to share with the board?
We're still on track to start seeing buildings come down this month. Again, a lot of abatement going on, so I wish I could tell you there's more going on than that, but the abatement process is one of the biggest single steps that we have to accomplish out there, and they're knee-deep in it and doing good jobs.
Now, when I went out with you to talk with the folks doing the abatement, we have how many buildings really ready to be demoed?
81 and 82 are ready to come down right now, so you're talking the big H buildings, northwest side of the property. So those two large structures are ready to come down right now. I think they want to get one more structure ahead before they bring in the demo crews, because those buildings will come down fairly quickly, and they don't want a whole bunch of lag time,
Right.
moving from building to building when they could, realistically be another project elsewhere.
Right.
So once they get here, they want to just move forward and demo.
And I think, I'm glad you added that, Chris, for the public who have been asking, when are the buildings coming down? This is really several steps. The first step, of course, was getting the contractor in place and going through that process. The second step was the abatement process and removing things out of the buildings, which they've been doing. If you look at the back parking lot by the laundry, there's a lot of stuff that's been pulled out of these buildings. Also looking at some of the underground material that they've been looking at, marking and pulling that out. So there aren't any surprises when they get ready to actually, the knocking down the building process will go very quickly, or at least relatively quickly. But first, there's a lot of prep work that started here at the beginning of June and has continued. And they're moving, I think, at a fairly quick pace when you consider the size of the project.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Kurt, because I had that question also. So you're saying it's not they don't have to wait on demolition for a complete abatement. It'll be like a percentage of abatement, and then the demolition will begin, so they can keep ahead. I'm glad you said that, because that was a question I had.
Yeah, and they want to be able to demo buildings far enough away from where they're doing abatements, so you have to keep some spacing there. So there's a little bit of a logistics issue there.
Chris, have they stated a route in which, when they start demoing, how they'll be taking?
That is correct.
Okay.
There is a route. So, Tyler, what road is that off of West Pleasant?
West Pleasant to 110.
There you go. So they'll be,
bypass.
they'll be getting on the bypass on the west side of town.
Okay.
And that was, Tyler had come up with that route, due to future projects on that road.
Yep, McKimber and West Pleasant and 110th are both in our 5-year plan for patching and pavement rehabilitation projects, so.
Okay.
Do the damage and we'll take care of it as part of our project.
So we're gonna speed the process up.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for the update, Chris, appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have more in the future. Any other questions on this? Steve, Keisha?
Not at this point.
All right, and entertain a motion to close discussion.
Motion to close discussion.
Second?
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Next, we have resolution 2021-62, the ICAP pool, and it's our FY22 proxy designation. Jake, we've done this every year, so
Yeah,
go ahead.
so it is that time of year. Just to be clear, we're talking about our liability insurance and our property insurances, which includes like vehicles and those types of things. This doesn't have anything to do with the health benefits and things of that nature. Renewal is the 15th of July every year. We've been with ICAP for a long time. Part of that process is that the auditor's office has been the liaison, or the, what do they, designee. Basically, I guess it is the word liaison. When claims come in, they usually route through our office, and we turn in the claims and pay the invoices, those types of things. The departments do a great job of dealing with the adjusters themselves. Recently, the hail storm has caused some damage to three vehicles. But historically, when the renewal is time, when there's information requested on financials and the properties and things like that, my office has provided that information for the renewal. That renewal process starts a couple months ago, just in the acquisitions they're acquiring. Do we still have the same dams? One of the new ones this year was fenced properties, things like that. So I see Tanya is on. She's our main contact at McKay, who we gets it through. The ICAP is through McKay Trust. I see Scott Zilder is here as well. So again, like you said, annual process. This year has a few new things to it that we can discuss, but if you would like the auditor's office to continue to do this, we're willing.
Okay. So just for the sake of order here, the only thing we're considering right now, board, is just the auditor's office as the proxy or the representative of Marion County in dealing with our property and liability coverages.
Yeah.
So they act as the liaison between McKay, ICAP, providing information, those types of things.
And just to be clear, this does not mean like if there are, hopefully there would be none, but like settlements or decisions or president, this isn't a decision-making thing, this is.
Right.
So this is, you're talking about item number 10.
Correct, not 11.
Yep.
11's a whole different ballgame.
No, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
Jake and his office do great work. Thank you, Jake.
It kind of fits because we, when purchases come in and we put them on our accounting system for depreciation and things like that,
Sure.
that tries to help keep track of the bigger items. It's a constant daily, not daily, but there's a lot of fluidity in all the equipment and everything that the county owns and comes on and off.
Is there a motion to approve 2021-62?
I move we approve resolution 2021-62.
I'll second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, which is renewal of our excess liability limits, and we've got a question here on the agenda item, like we always do.
Mm-hmm.
Do we maintain limits? Do we increase them? We've also got, I believe, a discussion on cyber breach coverage, which you have. Jake has added that.
Yeah, if you're willing, that's kind of the annual question, is some limits. So we have a couple of separate limits here. This excess liability, if you want to go up to 11, 12, or 13 on your overall coverage, and if I say something that's incorrect, let me know.
Right.
And then another one is with as in our new environment with cybersecurity, some limits on how much exposure you want on that, and then the price that comes along with that.
Did we have this cyber before? We didn't.
Okay, so if the cyber coverage we have had before,
At
if you want to
250.
talk about that one first. And we had $1 million coverage on a breach. Is that the right term?
Yeah, so ICAP has provided for a number of years. There's two components to the cyber liability. There's breach and then there's liability. The liability limit in there is if you get sued because of the release of sensitive information. That is up to policy limit on the policy. For a number of years, the breach was included at no additional charge up to $250,000. A few years ago, I believe the board had elected to increase that $250,000 limit to the $1 million limit, which was about, I think, $2,600 a year. And this year, due to many different circumstances, the premium has increased significantly on the cyber.
Right. So Scott, as I'm looking through this, I'm looking through the quote sheet right now on the summary. and I'm looking for the cyber quote. We just got these this morning, so I want to make sure I understand what the actual cyber cost is. Because it says included.
Yeah, so
It's a, you know the exact number it's
yeah,
for?
I believe so.
It was 2,600 and it is now 14,000.
So to do the.
So the one limit is 14,000.
No.
And it was 2,600.
Yes, that's correct.
So the total increase, Jake, from last year to this year, does that 2,600 to 14,000, I mean, does that included in
It is not.
41,000?
I don't believe so. 41,000 is a separate amount, right? Because we just found out about the increase in the cyber. Yeah. So the 41,000, the increase, so if we switch back, because we're kind of going back and forth,
Mhm.
but there is a significant increase in the coverage this year, because ICAP, for all of its members, is not giving back its, I always forget the term, member
Member voucher.
member voucher. So historically, you have the price of the coverage, and then with the, I guess with being the pool, they give a member voucher back, which is basically a discount on your premium. So average is around $30,000 a year. That reduces your rates by that. This year, ICAP is not giving that to anyone. So I think the renewal rates, if you just kind of do roughly, is 3 to 4% increase over last year, evaluation increases, things like that. When they took off the member discount, then that added the increase this year up to $41,000 total, for a total increase of that. And that does not include the decision to raise your cyber. The renewal includes the cyber breach limit of $250,000. If you would want to go up to $1 million on that, then that would be additional up to the 14,000 more. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if there are two quotes in your packet.
Well, we had the initial quote and then a new one, the new one yesterday.
One was up to 250,000,
Right.
and one was same coverage with $1 million on the cyber.
So that not only myself, but the public understands, ICAP deals with majority of counties,
Right.
state, I mean, okay. So there's not a lot of options out there, per se.
As for municipalities as a whole,
Yeah.
no, there are a few in Iowa that do that.
I'm curious, out of this pool, on the cyber side of it, as far as the insurance, how many claims have been processed on that?
On the cyber,
Yeah,
I don't have information on that, but we visited with them. I was caught a little off guard by the difference to this year, and I asked them. I think they were also surprised. For a number of years, it was 2,600 for $1 million, and now it's 14. A lot of carriers have banked out of cyber for governmental bodies because they are now targets, and significant targets to whether it's just to interfere with functionality or what it may be.
but is it assumed targets, or is something actually happened that they paid something out? That's my
We
question.
don't have that information. They
Okay.
hasn't provided that. So, but they also have to reinsure their cyber, and so the prices are increasing there. The markets that have pulled out. ICAP did get a second quote. It was $24,000 for that. So, and then we contacted an independent firm for cyber, who basically wouldn't offer a quote, but who said that if that's what ICAP is giving, that's superb.
So if you were to make a claim on this, and it's $1 million, whatever, policy, what do you get for that? I mean, do you get paid for any damages that have been occurred, or?
Right, so let's talk about the breach, which is the first part, and breach is going to be somebody alleges that the county has been, that there's been a breach. You don't know if there is or hasn't, and they make that allegation or they file a suit to say that it has happened. That's the breach. So that will then pay to, number one, defend it, but number two is to come in and do the forensic data to find out where it was and to do all that dark of work to find out where that happened and if there truly was. Another part would be, and we have a form of the different kind of areas that you see cyber breaches in, would be if you suspect that you have had a breach. And so again, it will pay to have a third party come in and do the forensic work and work with IT to determine if there was. So that's what the $1 million is. So they're provided $250,000, you've done $1 million. You haven't had any claims, again, without being able to provide other counties or municipalities claims history. I'm not able to help out there. So it's I kind of looked at it, if it was me, is the jump in premium is awfully significant. But what we're being told by the industry is we're targets, and that there's more and more coming after us. And so I get kind of nervous as.
Therefore, the raise in premium because we're a target.
Correct, yeah. So, I mean, that's what you see is if the premium for the past couple of years has been $2,600, they didn't think it was a big deal. And then now all of a sudden it is.
Right. Well, Scott, if I can just jump in here. And Counselor, maybe if you wouldn't mind jumping in on this as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I mean, you've been dealing with this on a daily basis, but our biggest risk from a cyber breach, frankly, our biggest risk of any of our information in Marion County is the release of public data.
Correct.
So personally identifiable information. So whether it's a cyber breach or someone leaves a list of taxpayer ID in a bathroom somewhere, similar to what Wells Fargo did several years ago when they left a briefcase in a bar that had a whole bunch of public information in it. So I think that's our biggest exposure. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's your sole exposure.
Okay, so then my next question is, since we've already got that exposure in everything that we do, for 2,600, I'm okay adding on a little additional coverage. For 14,000, I'm thinking I've already got the risk, right? So why would I pay 14,000 for a risk I've already got pretty much across my whole organization? Do you understand? I mean,
I have similar feelings, or if you were to invest any money, is to more on the IT side, on the prevention of risk management rather than the insurance.
Yeah, so I guess, Counselor, from a legal standpoint, have you seen any claims against government entities, any lawsuits that have been filed that would give us some guidance on what I'm proposing? To me, it seems a little bit like extra coverage for a risk we've already got. Is that worth 2,600? Sure. Is it worth 14,000? Is it worth 20,000? Is it worth 50,000? Because we're going to get more and more of these. Well, I don't think it's worth that. I think we've already got that exposure. So, Ed, have you seen anything in literature, anything that you've come across?
I have not. I was looking at this more as a ransom amount and how that would get paid out, but otherwise, no. To answer your question, no.
Okay.
And the breach coverage does include extortion, ransom as well.
Okay.
So, just so you guys know that.
What would be, so it'd be, the ransom would be they've locked up our system and we have to pay them 4 Bitcoin to get it out.
What we see
Right,
is,
that's the extortion.
yeah, is.
Michaela's smiling. She knows how I feel about Bitcoin.
What we see in cyber attacks, especially in extortion, is where they'll lock up they'll crypto locker, which is they'll lock up your important files and they'll demand money for that. And what we find is that there's what they call honesty among criminals, or something to that effect, where they actually, the amount that they put on there is a somewhat reasonable amount, say $10,000, because, and when it's paid, it's a game, and they know that when they get paid. So while we can't say you won't have $1 million crypto issue, what the trends are showing that they're doing these at fairly reasonable amounts to lock up important data so they'll get paid, they release it, and you go about doing that.
Right.
But again, I think the liability piece is where I'm happy, is that because we have full limits of the policy for the actual, once we establish that data had been released and there is, we are found to be negligent, then we have the policy to pay. It is the full policy.
I have a question, and this may be more like Michaela and Ed, with some of the regulations in regarding what can be out there for, on your property taxes, and who can be, I mean, would that be covered under something? So let's say a name that, legislation oftentimes updates and says what can be posted and what can't be. How would this cover us on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just asking in general, Michaela, is that
I think that's a valid question.
because we have, sometimes whether it's through Beacon or it's through, something gets out there that isn't supposed to be, whether a veteran, whether they're receiving.
So your question is about a third-party vendor, or if an employee actually
Yeah, yeah,
gives away information?
either or,
Does use it in the bathroom type
Yeah.
thing?
I have to say that they did comment that regulatory compliance is very good. So I don't know how they do their scoring, but based on that piece, as far as the government looks at the data protection that you guys have in place, that's good. We also had a comment on your dual authentication processes, which is, you sign in here, you get text or whatever that may be. That does also very good.
Andrew, have any comment?
I think in part, I don't know if this is in reaction to the vouchers, or I believe that it's because of when they've seen the nature of not just the premium, but the possibility of exposure, that they are investing more money into the loss control side. And so they do, in the past, they've had like law enforcement education, new education, and things that they do, but now on the cyber and the IT.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that we thought we could get with Andrew on, and bring their team in and see if, I think for me is, they can tell us here's the premium, but they don't tell us where we're lacking, what would make it better, what would reduce the premium, what can we do to make ourselves 100% instead of.
It's too new.
Sorry?
It's too new.
It is very new, yeah.
Yeah, when you look at the risk out there, the risk is really undefined, right? I mean, when you're thinking about something like, you can shut down a pipeline, you can lock up, it's a brand new.
Yeah.
Right, and I think those recent ones that we've seen that have been quite big are the ones that now we believe that.
Sure, and reinsurers gotta love that, right? Yeah. Andrew, are you on?
Yeah, I am. I do have a couple comments.
Well, give us a sense for the risk. What are we dealing with here from especially if it was a ransom type of scenario?
Yeah, so I think, are you guys able to hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so there are definitely, I think you guys can go either way on this policy. I think, I would agree with you, Mark. I think the 14 seems a little high. There are, in my mind, there are three risks. Basically a ransom, which I think has been discussed. Then you have your recovery costs, whether that's paying a ransom or hiring contractors in to come and help. Even sometimes if you get ransomed and you have the data and it's properly backed up, which I think they would be, there's still recovery costs involved with that. DMAC is a perfect example of that. They had their data, their recovery costs were still very, very high because it just takes a long time to recover that data. And then your third thing is the public trust. So a lot of times entities will, if it's public data that gets breached, a lot of times they'll provide some sort of lifelock or something like that for their citizens. I don't really know what the cost is for that, but I think if you took 34,000 citizens and bought LifeLock for every one of them, it'd be pretty expensive. So those are, to me, your your three main risk buckets, and I think the 250 probably would cover the first two okay, the ransom and the recovery. The public trust piece probably wouldn't cover that. So it's kind of up to you guys what you want to do, but I think that's risk in my mind.
Okay, I appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
And I don't want to minimize, as Scott, as we're talking through this a little bit, it's an unknown area. It really is. The number of attacks are increasing. I see this in the literature that I get. The creativity of the attacks are ever changing, just because of technology and what people are able to do. Who thought that they could shut down a pipeline or any of those types of things? So I think it's something we just have to be aware of. Whatever we decide today, we may, and I'm arguing against myself here, we may decide it's too expensive, but then a year from now, the level of sophistication could go up 3x, 4x. And to what we're talking about, Andrew, Ed, we're talking about ransom and public trust, or when someone comes to the courthouse to give you their data, does this buy us a little extra sleep easy coverage where we can say we're going to do everything we can to keep up with that change? And this is the cost of that in an unknown world. So there is that component.
So technology is our friend is an oxymoron.
Technology is our friend. I think some people are just bad.
I know. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish we go back the old way, just do paperwork, and we wouldn't have this problem.
I'd like to just say something if I could. You know, just to give the county a little bit of encouragement, I went to one of our brokers that specializes in cyber liability because she has a wide variety of different markets. And she was very pleased at the amount of stuff that you guys are doing to protect yourself. She was very pleased with that. And she did say that there's just a lot of companies right now not wanting to offer coverage to government entities. And those companies that are, they're offering the coverage, but your deductibles are as much as your premiums. And she said the premiums right now in the market she sees is $25,000 or more. And the deductibles are matching that. And so, you know, the $14,000 is significant. I totally agree with you guys there. I would just like to say that has provided a superb quote for the coverage that you guys are getting. And, you know, maybe there's some things that you guys can do on the IT side that would boost up, you know, your protection. I don't know, I don't work in IT.
Yeah.
But
Well,
whatever you guys decide, I just want you to know that you're getting the best quote for the best coverage in the market currently for government entities.
Well, I appreciate that comment.
I don't think that's the problem. And I totally agree with what she's saying. I'm sure they gave us the best quote.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
Steve, to that point, so here's what I'm going back to what I was saying before. This is an area of unknowns. So next year, the quote could be $30,000.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to be mindful of. If we buy this coverage at first at $2,600, then at $14,000, next year for the same limits, it could be $30,000 because there were 5 events over the course of the year. Reinsurers got their heads handed to them and jack all the rates, because that's what's probably feeding into this a little bit, is capacity in that area. There's just an unknown amount of risk out there in this world, in this area. So we have to be careful that we don't say, well, if we buy this coverage, we're all good, because we're not. I mean, we've got a little bit of cash out there to maybe provide some additional coverage on our standard property liability policy. So I think the question really is going to come down to, Andrew, as we look forward into IT, we try to look in our crystal ball, can we provide this board and future boards some level of understanding and assurance that our data and the things that we do are as resistant as we can make them to a breach? Whether that's phishing emails, whether that's hacking, whatever those risks are, that's really what it's gonna come down to, because eventually the cost will start to be so much, you can't afford the coverage. You see where I'm going?
Right.
So even if we do this year because of all the events, the uncertainties, by next year, we've gotta have a very good understanding of
The trend.
our risk mitigation strategy in-house. Otherwise, we'll just keep spending money.
Yeah.
On a coverage that I know will go up. It will continue to increase. Or go away.
Right, that's what I was just gonna say. It could go away because of the amount of, you know,
Well,
The
that
rest
was
of
my,
it,
that was
which-
my initial question. I was asking you, why such a jump in premium if there hasn't been any claims, or are they just saying, this could happen, so we're gonna cover
Well,
it?
there has been claims, Steve. I think that's part, they've had claims.
ICAP,
No, maybe not necessarily ICAP.
I'll get that information.
what's that?
I'll be able to get that information to you.
Okay,
I mean, even if ICAP has had claims, the industry at large has had
yeah, the
large
industry,
claims. And that's what feeds into this.
yeah, okay.
It's not any different than any other line of insurance. If the World Trade Center goes down, everybody's property liability coverage just went up. That's what happens. So,
Yeah,
Hey, Mark, can I ask a question of Andrew?
yeah, Ed, is that you?
Yeah, here's my question, what type of, assurances, a lot of these cyber attacks that we're seeing more recently are coming where a second entity is hit because a collateral business or vendor information was compromised. And I'm just curious from Andrew's perspective, what vendors do we do business with that other than perhaps our website design company, perhaps we could be in some trouble because of things that they do, and whether or not our contracts with future companies that do data management for us, do we need to be including the fact that they need to have certain coverage which names us as a secondary beneficiary or insured, because whether or not it's Beacon or Schneider or the Paulson Lab, Team Paulson Lab, how many of additional vendors could cause us problems where we could be jeopardized or compromised because of things they do?
That's a valid question.
Yeah, Ed, we do have several vendors. I'm not sure I'm willing to provide that, public meeting. We can have a conversation about that at some point on which vendors we use. And I totally agree with that. We do have business associates agreements with some of those. I don't know if those have insurance clauses in them. I'd have to double check that. But I definitely agree that that's something that we should look into for sure. And if you guys think that that's something we should require of our vendors.
Yes.
Usually they're bonded, and I'm not sure if that is a portion of that or not, or if that would cover that type of thing.
No, we want
The bonding part, but,
yeah, Andrew.
yeah, that's definitely something. And one other point I wanted to make real quick was we were cybersecurity audited twice over the last 2 years. One was through ICAP, so that was in 2020. ICAP did a cybersecurity audit on us. And I've got the results of that. It did go very well. And I have the results with that. I think I shared it with the board last year.
Yeah, you did. Thank you, Andrew. But I do think we need to do at least a review of our agreements and our third-party vendor contracts. I think it is exactly on point with that. And we need to at least validate that they've got coverage, or we're an additional insured on that coverage.
Yeah, again, it's still new and I don't even know about the additional insured from the cyber perspective, but any vendor that would have any type of technology that they would want to require that they carry cyber in addition to their regular liability lines.
Right. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, very good. So let's get back to the matter at hand, which is the increase in
Yeah,
Jake.
yeah, to recap, it would be the regular excess liability that we really haven't talked about. I think last year you guys left it at $10 million or go up to 11, 12, or 13 for just the regular liability that would cover a lot of the policy. And then the limit for the cybersecurity.
Scott, what would be any rationale to increase our excess liability limit?
I don't know if you were provided with your 5-year loss runs, but I've looked in there and we haven't had any, we've had some significant is a relative term, but only a few significant claims in the past 5 years. None have been close to $1 million. So you have a 2 million occurrence and a 10 million umbrella for a total of 12 million. So you are, when I visit with ICAP, you are at comparable to other counties as far as having those types of high limits.
Okay.
So we've not reached anywhere near.
So there really is no need to increase, at least based on our current risk, current risk profile.
The last couple of years, you haven't, you maintained and the quote that you had was to maintain, if you would want to increase to the 11 or 12, it would be this additional 1,000,
Yes.
2,000,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't, unless there's something in our risk profile that's changed, which we're actually trying to reduce our liability by disposing of properties and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason to increase that right now. What about, cyber?
We have to have a decision pretty much today, correct? on the
ICAP
cyber,
is-
because it goes.
Byron,
ICAP is, yeah, and it's late, and we also have received an email from ICAP, just for me, feels kind of like to me like a 1 year bridge, year two here a little bit, as it's also new and trying to figure out what will be available for next year. But ICAP has sent out an email, and Andrew got blessed yesterday, or I spoke with Andrew yesterday, and there's a lengthy form, but ICAP is sending out information to all their clients. I think they're trying to get a better handle on it where they are too. There's a rather extensive, lengthy survey requirement application. I think ICAP is moving forward on this as well, on their future coverages.
Yeah, let me just do this, Scott. Our premium increase year over year, all in, excluding cyber, is how much?
This year's contribution?
Yeah.
It's 354.
The increase, did you say?
The increase is 41,574.
Our increase is 41,570
Without the additional,
Without the
without
cyber.
the 14
correct,
for cyber.
yes.
Okay.
That's basically a 3 to 4% increase plus with an additional no member discount this year.
Okay. We didn't get anything back.
Correct, they're not giving it to any of their,
Okay. So we've got a $41,000 increase. We'll call it 4% for the sake of argument.
yeah, it's more than that when you add the other.
Total would be 359,906.
That's correct.
Without the,
Right, and
we left off the cyber.
from a budgeting standpoint, you never know where you're gonna be, and I believe, I looked there and I apologize, but I think the budgeted line item for this coverage, I always go a little high, we always estimate a little high, and I think it was at 370 is what the budgeted amount was. And of course, we had additional coverage available, or additional budget room available for the work comp, and there's a little bit of extra budget room there. So I think from a budget standpoint, at least budgeted dollars, it's available for you however you'd like to move forward.
Right.
It would not require a budget amendment.
Very good. No, I'm okay with the 3 to 4% increase. That would be in line with any property casualty line. That's what you're going to get on a year-over-year basis from an inflation standpoint. So that part I'm not. It's adding in the cyber. I talked myself out of not having it for a year until we understand our exposure. I don't think we get it.
That's where I'm at. It's not so much the price increases. I mean, nobody likes a price increase, but at the same point, I get it. I mean, it's just whether you do the cyber or not.
Well,
and I don't want to.
We've got public data. We have unknown risk. We got a great audit from ICAP as far as what we currently do. But I think we have to know and tie that audit to this kind of coverage. And I'm not hearing anybody say, well, we shouldn't do that right now. And we're willing to buy it before, so if the only thing that's going to keep us from buying it is an additional, $12,000, but we still think the risk is there, you got to weigh that too.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because we did have $1 million coverage last year. This renewal, they dropped it back down to the 250.
Right.
For 2,600, what is it?
I'm saying that correct.
They gave two options.
Right.
The
One's 26.
359 was without the $1 million limit.
Okay,
Yeah.
what, or what?
The 370, the
370.
The one that says cyber included.
Yes.
374 is the all-in cost.
All in.
Or the 359, okay.
And we've got about 370 in our budget.
I believe that's the number that happened, actually.
Right. So,
But if we don't have this coverage and we have something cyber, what happens?
that's what I'm saying. We don't know.
We don't know. I know, and that's
So
what's
that's why I think
I
you
don't wanna
have
be
to have the coverage.
target, yeah.
One more year until we do the things that we have been talking about in this meeting to understand our risk better.
I would venture that regardless of what you decide, I would like to see whatever resources we can bring in, because insurance is reactive.
Right.
Whereas, what if we have, in our particular agency, we have not only our IT, but we have now an additional, which is more proactive. IT takes care of this, but the proactive, which is the active monitoring by a cyber company. So it's more the proactive side. So I think not only do we have a fairly recent audit from ICAP, but is to not always pay more money in insurance, because you can take a higher deductible and not pay insurance. In this particular case would be, I think over the next year we'll know more about the marketplace, know more about your level, if this was good, what makes us better? And to have that was analyzed so that we could go into next year or implement these processes, which may reduce our premium, or we just see what the cyber.
Well, I think that's a great point, Scott, and just so you know, we will be having a cybersecurity meeting. I've asked Jeff to organize it, and that will be in Marion, from our different departments in Marion County. So, from emergency management, Andrew, that process will start here within the next, what did we say, Jeff, next week? So we are going to have those discussions within all of our agencies, because we've got to get a better handle on this, and we all have to, as officers, understand that, and understand our total picture. So that will begin for the next renewal. We're just not there yet. It's kind of come out, we had COVID. So we had COVID, a courthouse remodel, VA, and a few other things. So we had a few things on our plate.
Hey, Mark?
Yeah.
Is that something that you want Scott and I to be involved in?
I think eventually, Tanya, the answer is yes. I think we're gonna have a couple meetings in-house first, because there are documents like the audit and things like that. I think people need to be aware and familiar with what those are for us, and then we need to bring in, of course, our insurance experts and say, what does this mean? So, okay.
Great.
So I'm going to advise right now that we do the renewal is fine. I have no issues with the renewal and the premium there, and then we add in the cyber coverage for this year, given the current environment. But by next year, we've got to have a handle on this to know whether we really need this or not.
So am I correct if I'm doing my math right, so that it would only be about 12,000 if we take in consideration the 2,600 that we're already paying?
No, I don't think that's right.
Back to 2,600 out, it's now 14.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, yeah, if you
Or
add-
12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, $12,000.
$12,000 more increase, yeah.
That's correct. All right. Any other discussion on that?
I did just get, Danny just confirmed off my budget, but 375,000 is the line item for this particular coverage, ironically enough.
Ironically.
Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
Thank you, Danny.
I don't know, we did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, we factored in 3 to 4%,
Yeah, well,
and we put in a little
we
bit
always
of cushion.
like to play a little safe.
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree that we should protect ourselves until we figure out where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't like it, but I don't disagree with it.
Right, that's where I'm at,
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I make motion to approve the Iowa Community Assurance Pool ICAP renewal excess liability to include the cyber coverage. So do I need to put a total at all?
No.
In the motion.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
John?
Very good. Scott, thank you. Tanya, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
You're very
Tanya.
welcome.
And we'll let you know when we get our group together and all that. Okay, very good.
We'll look forward to it.
Thank you. Item 12, we've got Resolution 2021-63, which is appointment of a deputy recorder. Lisa? I was going to use the podium.
I like the microphone. We're getting feedback that people can't hear us when we're sitting in the audience, so.
Okay. We'll make a new standing rule. You must speak into the mic.
Until we get a wireless mic. This is just a cleanup issue. The standard procedure is for the code to run through the deputy appointment through the board of supervisors. That was not done in the past when Naomi was named by Karen to be the deputy. So this just formalizes the actual process.
Okay. So for the board's knowledge, any deputy of any county department must be appointed by the board.
The appointment must be approved by the board, yes.
Yeah. So
Through a resolution.
Yeah,
Jake?
historically, that has not happened, and it sure can moving forward if that's the rule. I mean, if that's the code.
Yeah, I think that's something we need
Wait.
to add. I know we've done it with the deputies and with.
Yeah, and Lisa talked to me about this the other day, I mean, looking about that, it looks to me like, historically, we've done deputy sheriffs, and I didn't mean to jump in your game.
No,
here.
you're fine, no.
Annually, at your
Yes.
organizational meeting, and I don't know if that was more on the law enforcement side, something like that. Went back and kind of looked around on the auditor's affiliate, and I found an old thread, and one auditor had recommended and had read the code, and I think like every time someone gets elected, so every 4 years, technically they're retaking. We all think if we get reelected and are fortunate enough to serve in that capacity again, it's just moving forward, but technically that's a new term. So anytime someone is newly elected, it feels to me like maybe I don't know that there's a requirement that a department has a deputy, but if they want to designate as such deputy, every time they get elected seems appropriate.
Okay.
Because then it would be on board.
Yeah,
And running it through the board is just not a practice that Marion County has done. So we had some paperwork in our file, did it 4 years ago with Danny, and I didn't do it this time.
And I like to call those things autopsy without blame. That's my big voice thing. We take a look at what's going on. We're not blaming anybody for it. We'll just move forward and we'll make all those appointments through a resolution, come before the board, and we'll move forward with it.
And I think it's still optional. I don't know that a department, because other counties deal with same situations that we do, but I don't know that an elected official has to have a deputy.
Right.
I'm not sure what that does and the ramifications if they do or don't. I'm not playing it, but I don't know that it says you have to appoint a deputy.
No, you're right.
It used to be, there was some language about the pay, base pay, or those types of things, but that's been changed in the code too, so. But if an elected official wants to name a deputy, I think we realize that it needs to go through the board of supervisors now.
Yeah, because the code says, in 331.9, they may each appoint or.
Okay.
Yeah, for when you're talking about electeds.
Okay.
And approval by the board.
Very good. Thank you. Any discussion?
Oh, Naomi's been doing the job for, how long has she been? Is it at least, I think May of last year, I think, or June or something?
Oh, that's been doing the deputy,
Mhm.
yes, since I think June.
June of
Last
2020. Okay, yep. No, I have no issues with this.
Very good. Steve?
Nope.
All right, is there a motion?
Make motion to approve resolution 2021-63.
Second?
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Any updates for the good of the order? Mr. McCombs?
No, I'm good.
Mrs. Johnner?
Yeah, this week I have a meeting with Pleasantville. They would like to just sit down, have just a little chat, update what their community is doing, so I said sure. With COVID being over with, it's been nice, been able to get out to a couple coffees. So those that, I'll just say this, that, you know, you have a coffee group that you're wanting, you know, I'll offer myself to go to, you know, I'm not gonna speak for the others, but I'm more than happy to do that. And it's always nice to get out and visit, because they just wanna know updates throughout the county and, you know, the VA project, the Prairie Ridge, the courthouse. It's just been good to be able to do that and to visit. So again, I will express, you know, as a board, we can't always, there's not enough time to talk about everything, and, but, you know, if you have questions, reach out to me, you know, I'm not a problem, I'm available, my information is on the website, so, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. A couple things, as I mentioned, we will be starting a cybersecurity group here within Marion County government to talk about cyber risk, and Jeff will head that up and organize that. We will be meeting again on the disposition of our COVID-19 money. We had our first meeting on that. I thought it went very well. Just an opportunity to get together with the various department heads throughout Marion County. What I asked them to do was basically come up with a list of possible uses for that money. And so we'll be working on that, regrouping probably by next week on that to start further that discussion. On the side, there was some discussion on hiring a consultant to help us manage the process. Ed has graciously called some of his legal contacts. I have called some of mine, and there just aren't a lot of people that want to take this on because of the ambiguities of the requirements. So I'm still going to work on that a little bit, and then I'll coordinate a little bit with Ed, see if we can come up with somebody. If not, we will be doing this in-house. So, because I'm not going to spend a ton of time looking for people. So, anyway, we'll probably have another meeting on that next week. Don't let me forget about that. Very good. I think that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.